Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our YouTube episode, and today we are going to discuss how Islamic philosophers understood and defined philosophy along with the terms hikmah and falsafah. In Islam, scholars have long debated the meanings of hikmah, wisdom, and falsafah, al-falsafah, philosophy based on the Qur'an and Hadith. These terms were also influenced by Greek translations in the past. Islamic civilizations saw various schools discussing philosophy, not just in what is typically called philosophy, but also in other fields like kalam, theology, ma'rifah, gnosis, and ilm al-fiqh, the science of jurisprudence. Even subjects like grammar and history had branches that contributed to philosophical thought. Each school of thought tried to define hikmah and falsafah in its own way. This has been a major focus of Islamic philosophy. Over time, the terms and the debates surrounding them evolved, but they remain central to the Islamic intellectual discourses. Terms like al-hikmah al-ilahiyya and al-hikmah al-muta'aliyya gain new meanings, especially in the teaching of Mulla Sadra. The term hikmah sparked significant debate, with Sufi theologians and philosophers all claiming it, citing hadith that mention the importance of wisdom. Some Sufis like Tirmidhi were called Hakim, wise, and Ibn Arabi referred to wisdom unveiled through the divine as hikmah. Meanwhile, many theologians such as Fakhruddin al-Razi argued that kalam, theology, rather than philosophy, was the true hikmah supported by Ibn Khaldun. In most cases, Islamic philosophers drew upon Greek ideas, sometimes with minor changes to develop their understanding. Some common Greek derived definition of philosophy that Islamic philosophers use can be said like philosophy or falsafah is the knowledge of all existing things coexisting. Al-ilm bil-mawjudat bima hiya mawjuda. Or philosophy is knowledge of divine and human matters. Or even philosophy is taking refuge in death, that is love of death. Or the philosophy is becoming godlike to the extent of human ability. Or philosophy is the master art and the science of sciences. Or even the philosophy is a preference for wisdom. Islamic philosophers pondered these definitions, which they saw a link to the Quranic concept of the hikmah, believing hikmah's origin to be divine. Abu Yaqub Al-Kindi, one of the first Islamic philosophers, wrote that the philosophy is about understanding the sense of things within human capability, aiming for the truth in theoretical knowledge and aligning behavior with truth in practical knowledge as well. Al-Farabi agreed with this, but distinguished between philosophy based on certainty involving demonstrations and philosophy based on opinion involving dialectic and sophistry. He also emphasized that philosophy was the foundation of all sciences and dealt with everything that exists. Ibn Sina, also known as Avicenna, agreed with the earlier definitions of philosophy but added some of his own ideas. In his work Uyun al-Hikmah, he said that hikmah, which is equated with the philosophy, is about perfecting the human soul by understanding things and accepting theoretical and practical truth as much as human can understand. Later in his life, Ibn Sina made a distinction between peripatetic philosophy and what he called Oriental philosophy. He believed that Oriental philosophy wasn't just based on reasoning but also included knowledge gained through experience. This distinction set the stage for Hikmat al-Ishraq of Suhrawardi. One of Ibn Sina's top students, Bamniyar, closely linked philosophy with the studying existing things, echoing Aristotle's idea that philosophy is about studying things as they are. Bamniyar stated in his Tahsil that the goal of philosophical science is to understand existing things. Other schools of thought like Ismaili and Hermeneutico-Pythagorean has similar views on philosophy, stressing the connection between philosophical thinking and leading a virtuous life. The idea became even more prominent from Suhrawardi onward. Philosophers weren't just a clever thinker, but also a people who lived according to the wisdom they possessed. Unlike the Western idea of philosophers, which emphasizes abstract thinking, Islamic philosopher focused on practical application of knowledge. This idea was expressed by Safa, a group of philosophers who lived around some time as Ibn Sina. They believed that the science of philosophy lies in loving knowledge, understanding reality to the best of human ability, and acting in accordance with that knowledge. Suhrawardi marked a new era in Islamic philosophy with his concept of hikmah al-ishraq, or illuminationist philosophy. Unlike previous thinker, he didn't use the term falsafah al-ishraq, choosing instead hikmah al-ishraq for both his work and the school of thought he founded. Henry Corbin, a devoted student of Suhrawardi, translated Hikma as theosophy in French, reflecting Suhrawardi and later thinkers. Similarly, Mulla Sadra's Hikmatul Muta'aliya is translated as transcendent theosophy in English to align with Corbin's approach. However, some argue against using theosophy because it is associated with the negative ideas like occultism. Yet, philosophy itself has limitations today, having been narrowed down to the rationalism or empiricism. This necessitates distinguishing between the understanding of hikmah by Suhrawardi or Mulla Sadra and mental activity called philosophy in the West. Using theosophy to translate hikmah is rooted in its historical meaning in European intellectual history, linked with the figures like Jacob Boehme, rather than its later association with occultism in the 19th century. Suhrawardi viewed hikmah as divine wisdom, something to be realized in one's entire being, not just intellectually. He believed this wisdom existed even before Aristotle's rationalism, akin to Plato's idea of ascending to the world of light. Suhrawardi stressed that the true hikmah requires both intellectual and perfection and soul purification. Mulla Sadra didn't just blend earlier Islamic thoughts, but also combined different views on what philosophy means. In the beginning of his work, Al-Farabi, he summarized earlier definitions, stating that philosophy is about perfecting the human soul by understanding the sense of things as they truly are and making judgments based on the evidence, not just opinions. In Shawahid al-Rububiyyah, he adds that through wisdom, human becomes like an intelligible word resembling the objective world. In Al-Farabi, he extensively discusses the meaning of wisdom, highlighting not only theoretical knowledge, but also becoming a reflection of the objective world and purifying the soul from material impurities. He agrees with Suhrawardi's understanding of wisdom, but expands the meaning of philosophy to include the illumination and realization implied by Ishraq and Sufi perspectives. For Mulla and his contemporaries, philosophy was the highest science originating from divine sources and practiced by the wisest individuals, just beloved prophets and imams. This understanding of philosophy, focusing on discovering truth and combining mental knowledge with spiritual growth, continues to influence Islamic philosophy even today. In conclusion, Islamic philosophy has a rich history of grappling with the meaning of philosophy, wisdom, and their practical application. Figures like Suhrawardi, Mulla Sadra expanded these concepts, emphasizing spiritual growth alongside the intellectual pursuits. Their legacy continues to influence Islamic philosopher today. It reminds us that true philosophy transforms both mind and soul, reflecting the profound meaning of hikmah in Islamic context. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more insightful content. See you in the next video.